Wait, what episode is this again? Technically, we count it. We count after the pilot. So what's it? Is this 5? Is this 5 not counting the pilot?
5 not counting the pilot.
Okay. All right, we go. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Coach Buff Podcast, episode 5 here. Evil and I back at it once again, and now we have a special guest here with us today, and that being TSM's prestigious Apex Legends coach, Talmadge. Talmadge, how are you doing today, brother?
What's going on, boys? How we doing?
I'm doing well.
Still a little fat after the holidays, but we're working it off as a skinny man. We're getting there.
Bloated. Of all get out. All that table food.
Oh yeah, dog. Oh yeah, bro. Dressing for days. I'm still got dressing in the fridge, bro. It's crazy.
Oh, there you go. Still packed. Still dragging out the leftovers.
How long do you guys keep your leftovers? Usually.
This is the last week right here, dog. After the first week of January, it's done. I'm out of here, bro.
Yeah, for like the New Year's stuff, definitely for sure. Christmas, I would have topped. I threw that shit out Wednesday, bro.
Yeah.
I threw that shit out last Wednesday.
The New Year's food though, it's still here, bro. I still got some cabbage in there too. I'm finally gonna eat it though.
Well, if you freeze it, it could last longer for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, introductions aside, everyone on the returning podcast members understand who Evil and I are. Talmadge, who is Talmadge today?
Talmadge is the coach for Apex Legends TSM.
Love that. All right, so how today's episode is going to work, chat, is we're going to give Talmadge the opportunity to share his origin story. I'm a big fan of it. I know where he came from, but you guys don't, so we're going to let him speak on his origin story. Evil and I are then going to go pick his brain, and then community questions, per usual, we're going to let you guys pick his brain as well. So that being said, Talmadge, whenever you're ready, let's hear the story, man. Let's hear the story. From Challengers player to TSM coach. How'd you do it?
I had some really great connections that I've met through somebody named C-Line. A decent amount of people probably know who he is. He doesn't work in Apex anymore, but I gained a pretty unbelievable privilege to get to work with him and Raven for a decent amount of time in combination with the community that they created. So, guys like ZZ that people know, Afro 04E, he was former SSG coach. He works with Burger now. JV is one of my great friends, but JV doesn't, I think they just play like Overwatch and shit now. But we had a great hive mind. Oh, Luke too. I totally forgot about Luke. You guys know Luke too. They were a great resource for me. We were just bouncing ideas constantly off of each other. We played a lot of arenas and shit together, just trying to pick each other's brain, trying to pick Sea Lion and Raven and Chipmunk's brain, just trying to figure out how we could actually get better at Apex as players. What's going on, man?
Knives. There he is. Everyone's here. He's alive. He's alive.
Just in time,
woke up, dude.
I believe it. That's that.
Great to see you, man.
Morning. How do you do?
Feeling.
All right.
Off the rip, not to interrupt you, but just to kind of build up on some of those things you just said. I'm a big believer in community creating evolution and like evolving the game in certain paths and ways and stuff like that. And to hear that like so many big names were involved in each other's like early careers and getting into it, I just want to like kind of double down on that. Like, what was that like?
Yeah.
Who kind of brought you guys together, stuff like that.
Explain the Raptor pack.
Well, C-Line had a Discord. This was back in 2022 or 2021. They had a really small Discord that he created, and this was around the time when he was still working with it was like when he started working with Furia, and it was Tech, Zera, and Panders, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so I found the Discord just like randomly on a chance through Twitter or something like that. I joined, and then we all just started kind of grinding arena customs together, just all of us just trying to push each other to be better, finding like some kind of resource to where we can all push our heads together and then end up getting better through like review and talking about the game in theory and shit like that. But what that meant was it pushed all of us to be better and all of us to kind of like try to one up each other in terms of like just coming up with cool ideas, thinking of new ways to approach the game, talking about the game strategically. And so I would say that C-Line was the curator for a lot of this shit, and Chipmunk did a great job too. They both just helped us get better as players, and then in turn, the way that we return the favor is through us going and pursuing doing this professionally. You know.
Absolutely. So iron truly sharpens iron. Then it's a group effort, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think peer review is like super fucking great as far as a tool, as far as advancing your own gameplay, much less, as coaches pushing ourselves to new boundaries and understanding, maybe how you're doing this, how you're approaching these things, or what concepts you're using to approach these things. So that's beautiful, man. Love to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I gonna lie, I forgot Chipmunk was in there. That guy was not only mechanically good back at the time, but what a brain that guy has. Kind of forgot about Chipmunk out of all that group.
Yeah, Chip's a grinder, man. That dude plays like every game. He's good at every game. And I learned a ton of stuff just from being around him. I still play ranked with him on a pretty decent basis. And it surprises me that he just hops on and he's really good every time.
Guys to go. So you explain the community and the connections that you come through. So tell us how the TSM thing happened. Your mentor out of no, I didn't get to work with Raven too much, but definitely I was around with you with Sea Lion. So Sea Lion, Raven, you work with a bunch of other coaches. Tell us how the TSM magic happened. Now, obviously, everyone knows about the roster change and Raven going over to then was Skidmark. How the TSM Talmadge come up?
Well, around the time that we just finished Split 1 playoffs, I was still on Elevate Gaming. We ended up calling our first finals together. You guys know Elevate Gaming was the team that decided to contest in finals. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I decided to go and pursue other opportunities because I felt like my opinion wasn't really respected at that point. Because it went against what I was preaching the entire time, which is that we can just end up doing just fine from checkpoint. The team that won land played from checkpoint and won land from checkpoint. Mm-hmm. So it was fine. But anyway, I ended up fielding some different offers for some different teams, just trying to see what the market was like for coaches in terms of salary. And then initially TSM had reached out to me. It was Jordan reached out to me and he said, "Hey, we'd love to have you on. If you could come with Zap." I was like, a package deal, because they just lost Hal at the time. This is when Hal went to Falcons. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, the number that they gave me, it was good, but it wasn't like exactly what I was looking for specifically. And the number I gave him back, I was like, yeah, can you guys do this instead? And they were like, well, no, that's actually a really good offer. You should go and take that if that's what you have. So I was like, well, I don't know. So I was kind of just playing my time, fielding offers, and then an opportunity came up where Zap basically just pulls me into a call and he's just like, yo, I'm gonna go take this TSM offer. And he was just like, I want you to come with me. And then at that point, it kind of just all happened really quickly. And one day I was E8, the next day I was helping out TSM through scrims.
Nice. Love that.
My immediate question, I'm sorry, Rules. My immediate question with this is just, what was that atmosphere like coming into TSM, from the staff, the org? I'm sorry, dog, we think the same. From the staff, the org, the players, what was it like coming into it? Was it open arms? Was it like, hey, we've got winning expectations, your job is to show up and do this damn thing? Or like, what was it like in there,
A good question. TSM obviously in this game has a lot of prestige behind it. They had just done a lot of winning in recent months. Over the last year, they'd placed first. So even when Hal left, there was a great push and a great initiative started by Evan and Jordan that they wanted to prove themselves that they can do it just as well, even without Hal. And so to me, when I first joined and when Zap and I first joined, we were doing pretty well. I think our first split in Pro League together, we finished second in Pro League, it was good. But I think a lot of it was pretty unrefined. We were just trying to figure out roles, trying to figure out what actually is comfortable for fighting, what comps are comfortable to play, what POIs we want to play from. And then over time, actually, I realized that my expectations and my standards for myself and the team weren't high enough. And so that led me to kind of like regrouping with Jordan and Evan and realizing, hey, that I need to actually push the standard higher for myself, so that way it trickles down to everybody else. And if we push each other to have higher expectations for ourselves, we can't be placing, seventh, eighth consistently in these tournaments. We got to be getting top fives, top threes, because that's the standard that we're setting for ourselves. Naturally, over time, we're going to start refining ourselves and pushing ourselves harder than we can. And we're going to have strategies developed for that, to where we're consistently placing top three every time.
I think that makes a ton of sense. Huge TSM fan, by the way. By far one of my favorite teams to watch and spectate. Love Verhulst. Think that dude's an absolute beam. But with that being said, it definitely feels like you guys almost are one of those teams that once you get a feel for the lobby and an expectation for the lobby, you're very easily adapted into it and just like you just roll forward. It's as you get time to play the game as TSM, that's when TSM gets the most deadly. And that's a scary thought.
It is, and I would say that like if we're talking about international competition, things like group stages, a lot of it is like feeling out the lobby. I mean, these guys by now have been to whatever 6 lands apiece or whatever, Jordan and Evan, more than that. And then Zap's already been to 3 this year. So they already have a pretty decent feel for how the lobbies play out in terms of like group stage versus winners or losers, and then finals day. And the overwhelming sentiment that we usually come to is that when you start getting deeper into the tournament, people start playing a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right. They're playing a little bit more reserved. They're minding their resources. They might be a little bit too scared to take pushes. So you start to see teams actually naturally fill up the lobby more. There's more teams alive in those further on in the tournament, because teams are valuing trying to get deeper into the game. But that also means that teams are a little bit more scared to take risks. So that's kind of the trade-off. But at the same time, if you can flip that on its head and as a competitor and say, hey, we know that these teams are playing with they're playing suboptimally. They're not playing to how they usually do in scrims. Then we can say, well, as long as that we're practicing how we think we're going to play on game day, and we follow through with that and follow through with our plans, that makes us foolproof, right? That means that we're going to consistently do our best as well as we possibly can, because we're sticking to our strategies and we stick to what we know works.
I love that, dude. I oftentimes preach to my guys in the CCs, stay within philosophy, stay disciplined to what we're doing, what we're coached to do, how we've practiced. Stay within the philosophy and maximize the effort there. Everything else outside of that is just wasted effort, wasted energy.
And fundamentals. People just don't. People
Yep.
like fundamentals. No matter how the game is, your core basic fundamentals will take you so much further than a team that's just being lazy. That being said, when it comes to creating the team to the higher standard and pushing yourselves further, are you able to tell us about the VOD review story with Evan?
The VOD review story. Could you be more specific? Like around what time was that?
I think it's at the beginning. Maybe. I don't know the specifics, but there's a word going around with like the team like not VOD reviewing or not wanting to VOD review, and you drag Evan into a VOD review.
No, that one's not true.
Okay,
That's just a rumor.
So debunked rumor right there. Debunked rumor right there.
Evan's normally like well to clarify that, these guys normally, as long as you give them ample notice, they're always going to want to review. The only time Evan doesn't really want to review is when he's streaming, because him having to mute up his stream for 30 minutes or 20 minutes interrupts the flow of his stream, and so people will leave and then they might not come back, which I totally understand, and that's why we try to plan around it a little bit. But him not wanting to review, that's false. That dude's a grinder. That dude is so involved and detailed in his process of what he does as a player. I haven't encountered a player like Evan to where he's as detailed and thorough with what he's trying to do, and his whole process is completely written down in his notes for almost every situation in Apex. It's incredible.
I oftentimes recommend players to do that and to follow suit with that. I think that is one of the most brilliant ideas I've heard of a player doing in any esport point blank period, is having that notebook. I mean, what was it during LAN that they brought light to it? I was obsessed after that. I was like, yo, this dude right here is in the gym at all times. During like in between games, we're taking notes, we're addressing things like physically in real time all the time. Like, I love that work ethic. I love that mental.
That in the package with the maps.
Oh yeah.
I see those all over the place.
Oh
One of the-
yeah, I mean we do like maps, so we'll bring the maps to LAN and we'll talk about the neighbor POIs. We'll talk about what teams are around us, what they like to do. I think you guys were talking about it in one of your earlier podcasts I was watching a few days ago, and you guys mentioned that you guys like to know what your neighbors do in terms of what their prio spots are and what they talk about, or what you talk about, how they process the game.
At
And I think
minimum, I want
that's a
3
great thing.
POIs.
Three
Like,
POIs.
at bare
3
minimum, I want
POIs.
3
Yep.
POIs.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
got to know your neighbors, man.
Yeah, I want to know those first 3 rotations, and after that, I mean, we're getting into round 3, into the mid game phases where it gets a little more chaotic. So you start losing, especially in CCs. Half these guys have 2 brain cells. And one of the questions I do have for later is about y'all's experience specifically in BLGS against the CC competition. But first, since we're talking about players, tell me about Jordan, man. I think that dude is one of the, like, by far the most successful players in Apex history, by far, one of them. But he gets 0 credit for it, 0 love, 0 recognition for it half the time. And, like, dude's a GOAT, man. Like, you don't see him out of position. He's a very fundamental, like, I love his gameplay. Genuinely love his gameplay. He's one of the reasons why, like I'm not even much of a Hal fan, as controversial as that may be. I'm a lot more of a Jordan fan, to be honest with you, with the OG TSM days. Love that dude.
Yeah, I could say for certain that Jordan is probably top 2 or top 3 favorite teammates I've ever had, and I'd say probably my favorite, to be honest. Like, I really appreciate his perspective to competition. I know what Jordan, like what version of Jordan I'm going to get on any given day most of the time. Like, especially on game days, he's always there, and you can feel that he brings his intensity up a couple notches more, and you guys can hear it and you can see it in his gameplay on game days. I really appreciate that about him. I also appreciate that he's like the most adjustable person in terms of like his role and what he needs to play for the team to succeed at any time. He's got such a wide character pool, and his role is so invaluable to our team in terms of like just an emotional support guy, just being a pretty stable dude, and being able to play so many different things and do so many different things for us that it opens up the game so much for his teammates and us.
I genuinely think that players like Jordan, having one of them on each team, defines team success in some points and ways. And they're like, not having that selfless play style, that player who's just going to be in the gym working on whatever the team needs first, like, that's just such an essential tool to success, in my opinion, especially at the highest level.
And he does this thing where like we'll talk about a comp or whatever, like what we want to play next or what we want to do next, and then he'll ask like, all right, so who's playing what, and then he just lets Evan and Jordan, or Evan and Zap, pick first all times, and then he's just like, whatever you need me to play, I'll just play it. Doesn't matter, because he'll just go and grind a character for a week or 2, and he's got a pretty decent understanding at it at that point, and it's better than most. So
yeah, I definitely feel like he is one of the most IQ savvy players probably in the game, period, by far.
he's great.
Knives. Anything from you, brother? I know you just woke up. You're still collecting everything. Well, we
Yeah,
have
no,
Talmadge here.
I'm
Pick
just,
his brain, man.
It was great. No, it's great just to be here. Appreciate it. Sorry for being late. But talking about on the subject of Jordan and you, I usually deal with a lot of like the mental side of things, and ironing people out and getting people prepared for game day and all that stuff. When you guys are down and out, you're not playing too well, you're down on points, everyone's vibes are not too well. Is it either you or Jordan that helps out bring up the team back up? What do you think?
I mean, I'm not gonna say who does it more than another. I think, like if I had to talk about my role on this team, like one of my most important responsibilities is making sure that we're feeling even going into the next game. And so they're pretty good at regulating themselves anyway, right? Like I don't have to, baby them and tell them like, hey, are we feeling good? We're doing this, yada, yada, yada. But Jordan does a great job of saying what needs to be said, of keeping it honest and saying like, hey, we're playing like shit. How can we fix it now? Like as a player, as a coach, you can only do that so much. You need having somebody that is your support player, or somebody that's like a very strong influence to the rest of his teammates. Having that as a player, like having that as a teammate as well, is invaluable, just because getting it from your coach sometimes it's like, yeah, like, I mean, you're not really playing. Sometimes you don't understand the feel of how it felt in that moment. But Jordan is right there, and he's just like, no, like I understand what you're saying, and I get what you mean, but at the same time, we have to do this thing better. We have to get better at this. We can't be letting that slip.
Having that guy on the inside.
Yeah, definitely. It makes sense because it'd be good to have self-sufficient players, and we were saying earlier, 6 lanes apiece or more. Zap coming up there as well, so it's good to have self-sufficient players when it comes down to like, damn, we're down and out. We need to collect ourselves pretty quickly.
And sometimes we are sucking ass. Sometimes we're just skipping the steps that we need to skip, right? But I mean, that's sometimes when you just need to give them a kick in the ass. It's not always me. It's not always Jordan. It's not always Evan or Zab. It's, any one of us in the moment. You can sense it and you can feel it, where it's just like, we know we're not doing what we need to be doing. So somebody just bring it up, let's hash it out, and then we'll be good to go for the next game. We don't want anybody feeling off going into the next one.
Love that. All right. So any other in particular questions for Talmadge? I have one, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask away before we switch to a more community based.
Feel free.
Okay.
I have a ton of questions actually. It's outside the TSM realm. Like, I mean, I told the community that like they've been showing me up on questions. Absolutely not this episode. I've got a ton in the chamber for you, dog. I'm just making sure we're going at a pace that we're all comfortable with. And trying to like keep on topic too. Most fresh on my mind is definitely the BLGS that we all just got out of. What was the experience like with you guys adjusting to what we deal with more, which is high mechanics, low IQ,
I think we still try to approach it the same way as we always do, which is that we're going to try to play how we practice. At the same time in BLGS, when you're playing with players that aren't as experienced in high stakes lobbies, they tend to do things that are either illogical in the moment or scared, like they play very scared and reserved. Emotions definitely run high in those ones, and it's pretty apparent in like how the lobbies will just play out. There's a lot of like weird pileups. There's teams that are just like running and ratting in a certain corner, and then you have to be able to make sure you're like checking all your corners and not gonna die to a team that's just randomly ratting you in the middle of the map. I will say that in like the quarterfinals and semifinal rounds, it's pretty decent Apex. It's just the fact that you're playing against people that aren't as skilled as you are, that there's kind of some weird stuff going on where like you don't really know how a team plays, or you'll have to adjust your macro because there's a random like 3-team pileup happening in front of you, and you just don't even really know how to navigate around that without a beacon. So it just there's certain things that just don't happen in pro league lobbies or in LAN lobbies, and it's still a refreshing thing to see that like we're still able to pull ourselves out of those circumstances. But there are times where you're just like, holy fuck, man, like we're just doing some stupid shit because other people are doing stupid shit, I
mean, full transparency, BLGS 1, we were in the same semis lobby, and a part of our strats where we see you guys fighting, we know that it's you guys in that area fighting. We're doing our best to apply as much pressure to that fight from a safe distance without full committing as possible to like just increase the odds of you guys making a bad decision or giving you guys a chance for us to outplay, So like I can definitely see where, there's just a lot more variables to navigate going through that.
Especially when you're also one of the when you're one of like the big ticket teams in the lobby.
Oh yeah.
Teams know that, and they're going to want to try to get you out because it's either funny and they can see it on stream, or they know that, hey, if we end up clearing this side, that means our edge is going to be cleared because that team plays from that quadrant. So it opens up a lot of possibilities. So there's going to be like random 2 or 3 different teams trying to 3P you, and you just have to fight off. Like it's like zombie mode, honestly.
I mean, a part of our strategies were if we knew you guys lived through the chaos, we weren't playing your quadrant. We were playing to rotate on neg and find opportunities elsewhere. So I mean, I think that's just a part of the game that like us as CC coaches and CC players, like adjusting to you guys being in our lobby, it's almost like throwing a whale shark in a pool full of sharks already. And it's like, all right, well, we got to deal with these guys over at SQ fighting us over here in this quadrant. But we also got to deal with TSM possibly on third party us in the back. Like, this ain't fun no more. Come on, man. Give us out of this rock in a hard place.
Yeah, and I could see it from I could see it from, you know, a team that's like not as skilled as like a professional team because they just don't have the time to put in. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, what's the point of us trying to 3v3, you know, the best team in the lobby or the second best team in the lobby if we just try to go get deeper into zone and then get points that way? That's probably going to be a better option.
That was one of the things I think was our proudest moment out of BLGS. I think it was one is I talk about it often on here is we set a scoring record that got broke immediately after like 2 games by somebody, but it was with you guys in the lobby and it was like, yo, we did this with TSM and Fury in our lobby, like 2 of the best 3v3 fighting teams hands down in the world. We did this here with them, so like there is no excuses, there is no like, you know, shame for us. This is a mega proud moment for us, you know. So
Yeah.
I
Were you
love
guys
the
the team that
experience
dropped
overall.
like 140 points?
I think we were at like, yeah, I think so. I think we were at like 141.
Was that the
Designated-
team with like Frying Pan Birdwalker?
No, this was I Hated, Cloud, and Johnny GSQ at the time. It was either quarters or semis, and I think we had like I want to say we got either first or second in that lobby overall that day.
I think we got second to Furia.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I
yeah,
think you're right.
it
I think we
was.
ended up 3-3 in Furia in the end game and losing to them for like that first place spot. Actually,
You talking
Gotcha.
about individual game or points?
just that like that actual match set.
Oh, okay. Because I think
that
I think
round.
we also tied off that E District game. I think we tied it for the biggest game of that day too.
Yeah.
You know what E District game I'm talking about.
Yeah. But another one of my questions, so more specifically towards like you, not so much TSM or anybody else, is that you got to experience the EMEA region in Pro League, as well as the NA region, and that's something that I have as a personal goal. Is that I would like to achieve Pro League simultaneously, North America and EMEA. I've got 2 very talented teams. I'm coaching Vera Squad in North America, Kryzen, former Pro League player, and EMEA. So we got 2 really good squads. What was it like for you in the EMEA region? How much have you seen that region evolve? Because they're getting to where their NA or the EMEA scrims are feeling a lot like NA scrims, and we're down to 12 squads round 3 more often than not.
Yeah, EMEA scrims are a joke. They're really fucking bad. I don't really know what it has to do with like every team thinks that they're just Alliance or they think that they're the big ticket team and they just want to go and do stupid shit or they're not even thinking about why they're doing something, so they're just going and thirding because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see I don't even watch EU scrims anymore because I know how every single EU scrim lobby plays out. I've never seen a single competitive EU scrim lobby, like ever. Every single time it's like 15 squad zone 1. I'm just like, how the fuck does anybody actually get better? How do you actually replicate game day?
Yeah,
Like,
we
if
actually
every
requested to like get dropped out of the Pro League lobbies because like we weren't getting any better. We weren't getting any end game work at all. We're going into end games like round 5 with 4 teams left. Well, like, what's the point, dude? We have a team of Quadrant right now. Why aren't we doing this?
You're better off being a better team, but playing in just a worse lobby because the worst lobby teams won't just like randomly ape each other. They'll just like respect each other and try to actually play for endgame.
I agree
It's
very much.
as long as like you're mindful of your practice and you're like, yo, we know that we're clearly the best team in the lobby. Let's just not try to ape everything, and we'll actually try to play to get endgame prac. I think that's still valuable.
I agree. So, what was the experience like, more specifically with Go Next, man, and like getting into the EMEA region for you?
My first starting in EMEA was with a team called Nightmare. This was like Split 2 Pro League of 2020. This was last year or 2 years ago, I guess now.
Mm-hmm.
The team wasn't very good. Actually, the team was decent. The split 1, I think they were like 2 or 3 spots off of qualifying for LAN. This is when EU had like 10 or 12 spots still.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Nick ZZ, this is when Nick was coaching KCP at the time, I think, or maybe he moved on from KCP and went to FaZe at that point. But Nick got me a job as Nightmare's coach, and this is Denze, Lemic, and Seven. And I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. It was a really big learning experience. They trusted me a lot, and I didn't really I kind of knew what I was doing, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And the best part about it is that it's like when you're learning on the job, you're gonna fail a lot, but as long as you just keep working through it, and people are gonna give you another chance to work, it should still work out in the end. What I would recommend, this is something I just want to say for you guys, if you have the intention of actually trying to get into a pro league, if it's with your teams now or if it's with a team in the future, I would just start reaching out to like random pro league teams in EU and NA. I would just say, hey, we did this and that. You know, if you need a referral or someone like that, I can take a look at your work and I can do that shit for you. I want to see people actually get decent chances in pro league because the same thing happened to me and it changed my life. And I know a lot of people work really hard in CC and they're not making any money doing it, but they do it because they truly love it. And I want to give other people the opportunity to go and do that same thing that I did, to be on that same path I did. So if you guys have any intention of getting to the game or getting into the game professionally as a coach and coaching at the highest level, then just let me know and I'll try to help you as much as I can.
We appreciate that. That's a generous offer.
Yeah, man. I love that. I appreciate that so much. One of the things that you said though before that was that you experienced a lot of adversity during the times of Nightmare. That's why I kind of want to pick your mind about that. What kind of adversity were you going through, and what adjustments did you personally make to overcome that adversity?
That team did not like each other, or two of the players on the team just hated each other, couldn't stand working with each other. They just saw the game in two completely different ways. And so that led to Densei leaving, I think like midway through Pro League. And then at that point, I was just like, well, I mean, we don't even have a third, or the third that we're trying out hasn't even been in Pro League before. I think they pulled him from CC. And I was just like, well, I might as well just go and see if there's any other offers I can take. And so my next one before Go Next was with Passion, which was fucking Horizon 0-0, and
Yep, we know a lot about Passion. Trust me, they call
it was Horizon 0-0, and who's their third? Oh my god, I should definitely know this. Oh, it was a Maz. It was a Maz. That's the French guy.
Yes,
it was a Maz. And I was also terrible on that team. But I was still trying to do a lot of shit. I was trying to figure out why I was sucking, why we sucked. It was stressful as shit. And we didn't qual for LAN with that team. I didn't qual for LAN with either of those teams. At the end of the Pro League split, I was like really sad and I was down. I was like, I can't believe that, you know, I've been working my ass off and there's nothing to show for it really. And it sucked. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting a random DM from Bambino, from Eternal, because Eternal had just qualified for LAN with the last Pro League spot. They ended up making it into Pro League off of they placed second or third in regional finals, and they ended up making LAN with the last spot. And so Bambi asked me, he was like, yo, we need a coach, as long as you can pay for your travel, like, we'd love to have you on the team. And Bambi probably saved my career, to be honest, just because it gave me the opportunity to actually go and network at LANs and talk to people and meet a bunch of different people. That first LAN with GoNext, that was when we were GoNext. We became GoNext right around the time LAN happened, split 2 playoffs. And that LAN, a couple things break our way a little bit better. We end up qualifying for finals in our first time together. That was it. That roster was Bambino, Slab, and Josh, or Dr. DCTZR. We were playing fucking awful POIs. It was Geyser, Jurassic, and we were playing like kill comps with no ring console. Just as when Jurassic had no ring console. So we were basically just trying to wing it and figure shit out. And Bambino and them were almost good enough to actually end up making a finals lobby with those POIs, despite the POIs. And it was pretty eye-opening because we were just like, well, you know, we're going to run it back for champs, or we were going to try. We ended up qualifying for champs through LCQ. We placed first in the LCQ in EMEA. This is with Missy instead of Josh. They ended up dropping Josh after the LAN. And when we were doing international scrims, we were fucking farming. Like, I think our total average was like 7th or 8th overall in international scrims with the roster that we had, and we were playing from Geyser, Jurassic. We did really well, but we bombed out at LAN. And I was really pissed. I was like, well, I mean, I've been to 2 lanes this year. We don't really have a finals lobby to show for yet. I was going to try to go test the waters in NA, and then the offer I ended up getting, actually no, before that I ended up getting Natsuki ended up going and fucking offering me a role on 07. This was right after champs, and Natsuki offered me that. So that was Amphi, Nags, and Natsuki, and so I was on that roster technically for like 3 weeks to a month, maybe it was 2 months, but we didn't end up working like, I think I was in 1 or 2 scrim sessions with them, maybe, because this was during the off season, so like everybody was either on vacation or doing other shit, so we weren't practicing. And then like a couple weeks after, I was still looking for a job in NA because I wanted to get paid, and I knew NA was going to be my best route to end up making money trying to do this. And then Zach ended up getting a referral from Raven for me, and then I ended up joining E8 shortly after that. And first stint in E8 was pretty good for a brand new team. It was pretty damn good.
That's awesome.
I think that that pretty much covers as far as getting through, or at least getting into the TSN days and the NA days. One of the questions that I also have for you is that I was doing a little digging on you, and I found out that you play Gibby. You're a Gibby guy? Is this true?
No, it's kind of a joke. It's
okay. All right.
So
all right.
there's a backstory to it, kind of.
Okay.
It's I always thought that I was like really good at the game, but I was pretty shit. So I would try to go and play like aggressive characters, and I would just be sucking dick, and I would be playing ranked randomly with the buddies, and if we're just like losing 500 to 1,000 RP in an hour or something like that, I'd just be like, I'm pulling out Talmadge Gibby. Like, I don't give a fuck at this point. And I'm just running it down on Gibby. I was fucking terrible on Gibby. I was so bad.
I asked you about Gibby.
I was fucking terrible on Gibby, and I just put it down in my my Liquipedia bio that Gibby's my signature legend. So when I could show it to Chipmunk, and he was just like, that is the biggest cap in the fucking world. You're terrible on that shit.
That's great, brother.
It's pretty funny that it's became full circle though, because Gibby's like a raid boss right now. That character's so good.
So good right now, man. I love the impact. I am a Gibby guy. Also pretty terrible at him now, but yeah, dude, love Gibby to death. So happy that he's back in meta. One of the questions, kind of segueing into this, one of the questions I personally have for you is that we're about to go through a change after champs, and I also have some champs questions for you too. I don't want to take your time too much if you got things to do today, but
right, you shoot away. If you can answer, I can answer as many questions as you guys want.
Absolutely, brother.
I got some.
Definitely have champs questions for you, but first and foremost, how and what are your preparations during this offseason going into champs, and what meta do you think champs will shift to with the current updates to Newcastle?
So what does like my preparation look like?
Yeah, you don't have to spill the sauce if you don't want to, brother. But it's kind of a double question as far as like how are you guys getting ready for land of champs, all that good stuff, and then what metas are we expecting?
Well, right now we're just gonna be coming off of a break where we've all taking like a whatever week and a half, 2 week break now, because we've all been at Christmas doing stuff with our families, taking a break from the game, just doing other stuff, which is it's good. It's a nice refresher. We'll meet later today, and then we have international scrim starting back up tomorrow. So it'll be group scrims. So this week up until Friday, because Friday's when the group stage draft happens for everybody. So this entire week, we're prepared to talk about what teams are going to be potentially around us for all 3 of our groups, talking about what the potential meta is going to be because there's a patch tomorrow. I guess to like segue into the second question, I think we're going to end up seeing some nerfs to the support class, and some buffs to legends for like Mirage. Like Mirage is supposedly getting a nice buff. Lobe is useless, so that shit doesn't matter.
Same thing.
I think that they're going to end up potentially nerfing some of the strong characteristics of the support class that they added. So like gold armor, I expect that to get nerfed to where it's just going to be back to everybody on, one cell equals one cell, which is healthy, and one syringe equals one syringe. If you're going to give gold armor, just give it to everybody. I don't think that should be restricted to a single class. I thought that shit was really cooked from the beginning because it just leads to teams like stacking double legends, and stacking double survivability is just so fucking annoying, man. It makes fights so drawn out. It makes edge gameplay so unfun to watch.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
I think where they went wrong with this is that if you want to do gold shield for support, take the res off. Don't give us full resets off reses. Don't make it a 2-second cell and I'm full reset after getting my ass slammed. Like, bro, come on now. Like, let there be some punishment for misplays. Yeah.
There needs to be that in this game. I would say this game is really unforgiving when it comes to you just getting like randomly one clipped and then your game just ends, which sucks. But at the same time, there's always something to learn from that. It's probably like, I wasn't paying attention to this when I should have been paying attention, or my teammate wasn't doing it and I didn't communicate that we need to watch that. It's small things like that. I will say that I think the next meta will likely center around. Oh man, it's going to be hard to read what teams want to do now that I think about it, because I think Seer Cat is probably like the next logical step for teams. It's comfortable for a lot of teams, and I think it's still decently effective. I think Seer's like in an okay spot. I don't think he's insanely overtuned. I think he's just like fine. I think some teams, like the edge teams, will try Crypto again. Crypto is really good when it works. It's the problem with Crypto for a lot of teams is that your execution has to be so fucking high in fights, because your Crypto is always going to be hard behind everybody else because he has to set up his drone for a lot of shit. So it leads to just only 2-man walk-ups happening. So you have to play the fights almost perfectly. If any of you get clipped for whatever reason, or if any of you misplay in terms of your positioning, then the entire fight can be ruined because Crypto takes so long to get into the fight if he's that far behind. Right? And then the fight it's basically a 2v3 with an EMP. That's the entire thing.
10,000%.
So you got to get a pick. You got to get a pick off the EMP.
I got to show really some of my mad scientist comps, and Crypto was an essential part of that, man. During BLGS 1, where we had that game that was so great, we were running Crypto, Maggie, and Pathy off of EDAM out of Edge.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that's
dude,
fun
it's real fucking fun. You just outpace absolutely everybody, especially in that meta. It was just like Newcastle wasn't Superman yet. You could just outpace his Q. It was beautiful.
I will say I really like Pathfinder's synergy with Crypto.
I do too.
You can do a lot of creative stuff with the zips, and also it allows Crypto a way to get into the fight a few seconds faster off of his EMP. I think if you did like something like Pathfinder Crypto and then you flex whatever third you want. I know APAC teams really love to run Crypto Pathfinder Bangalore. I think that works just fine too if you're playing edge comps. Especially I'm surprised. I'm interested to see if teams go back to Watson, because if nobody plays Watson anymore, then teams are just gonna run Gibby. Like Gibby right now is, even if they get rid of the gold armor stuff, Gibby's still so good, man. His abilities are insane.
I think the up count around Gibby is actually insane.
Yeah, you're just stable. You're able to stabilize for so long, and his bubble is 17 seconds if you pick the longer bub. His Gibby ult is 3 minutes. It's and then being able to have Gibby bub for shotgun fighting and like gap closing is just so nice, man. No other character can do it like he can.
One of the things, I'm gonna spill a little bit of sauce to me and really we're talking about. One of the things that me and him have been working on is we're expecting people to be a little bit slow as far as CCs on getting off Newcastle and Catalyst comps more specifically. So we're running Rampart, probably Valkyrie over Pathfinder, but we also have been talking about Pathfinder as well, and then Gibby behind it. That way we can kind of play slower in zone, stabilize space. And I'm kind of one of the people who really influenced me was Ink W. He coached LNW and Artified Esports back when they were in South America. He coined a term to me that was really cool as far as a philosophy called inside out, playing aggressively from inside of zone, starting and influencing your spots that are going to create washes or clusters of teams fighting, and being able to be from a advantageous position into that spot, being able to collect that KP without having to commit for that KP. So
Oh yeah.
learned a lot from him doing that stuff, and we think that, or at least we're pushing towards maybe running that at the beginning of it, and then adjusting how we see fit from what the meta does. But I see Rampart being a thing where people are going to run Bangalore immediately out of it. Then you have Bang Blood coming back, Bang Seer coming back, stuff like this, where you're getting the Bang Scan meta back into the gameplay. Do you think, if that was the correlation, if that was the timeline we're looking at as far as how the meta's going to shift after champs, do you think that would be something that, A, you could see happening, and B, would we be forced back into a scan meta if that does happen?
When more teams decide that like the double support stuff isn't going to be worth running, I think you're going to see teams want to gravitate going towards man scan again. Man scan just helps so much. It's perfect info for 15 seconds. You see so much, and you're able to make plans on the fly with evacs, even just doing it on foot, being able to see that there's a side of zone that's completely untouched or there's only one team.
Mm-hmm.
Just having that info is so invaluable, and you don't get that with any other legend class. I mean, ring console gives you perfect green zone info, but everybody plays ring console. Not everybody plays man scan. I think man scan right now, like the crypto and seer they're in good spots. They don't need to be like touched. To be honest, I think they're both pretty healthy. Now that they nerfed crypto's stuff with him going invis, the invis shit was fucking stupid. That was you guys probably saw it land. Jordan was just ratting to get 2 or 3 extra placement points with invis crypto. It was stupid. I'm glad that they fixed that. But
yeah, I don't think from a viewer standpoint that's very healthy for the game, is seeing somebody AFK from your favorite team. Like you never want to see that.
So boring. That's so boring. It's so boring. I think that when the gold armor stuff gets nerfed, you're going to see naturally teams not run double support anymore because they don't feel like they need to. So teams are going to run they're going to swap back to Bangalore. They're going to play crypto or seer. Those are probably like some of the better teams in lobby will try to run those because it's more execution based. And then I think Bangalore, Newcastle, Cat, you'll see teams run that again because that's still a pretty stable comp. Like it's really good in zone, especially if you have purple armor. Like you just hardly ever die. I think some teams will try Gibby. I think Gibby in endgame is going to be better than Newcastle in endgames just because those teams aren't going to have Bub, and you're going to have Gibby ult and a Bub. So you're just going to sit there and wait for teams and hold the front of your Bub with Newcastle Tack or Cat Qs, and they can never really push you. Or if they do, they just get slammed. I'm trying to think of what else people play. People play Pathfinder for sure. There's only like one team in the lobby that's ever running Valk, and it's Lone Sharks. But Lone Sharks on Stormpoint do such a fucking fantastic job of just playing super slow in their early game macro, and then when zone 3 pops, they'll just hit Valk ult and they'll fly to the soft side of zone, and then end up just getting a free spot there and getting a bunch of points that way. I'm surprised more teams don't do it, to be honest, because it works really well on a consistent basis. And as long as you're able to plan for like spots that you could fly into off of Valk ult for each zone, I don't see why you couldn't replicate what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. So one of the questions I have for you that I think kind of doubles down to this as well, that's more specific to yourself. Let's just say, theoretically, we're in a perfect world, and TSM Talmadge can do whatever he wants to do and whatever lobby he wants to do it in. What's your perfect playstyle? What's your philosophy on how you approach the game?
Ooh, this is tough.
Coaches,
I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful about this one.
Okay. Sorry,
I don't want to share it too much, but talking about fundamentals of Apex, right? You're always going to want to find ways to get to the soft side of zone, no matter what POI you're playing, no matter what playstyle you're playing. Playing the soft side of zone, getting to spots where you know that there's only 1 or 2 teams around you, so you can start messing with teams around you and get KP that way. I think that's really beneficial. I think having tools to manipulate doing that, so characters like Valk, like I just mentioned, characters like even Pathfinder sometimes. I think teams like Fuse allows you to be able to take fights on soft side of zone. Sometimes there's times where you just can't get to soft side of zone, by the way, and your comp is dependent on that, and your POI is dependent. So not every single zone you're able to get to soft side. But there's going to be times where, you just have to know what your outs are in terms of like, here's our agenda, right? Here's what we're going to do for our first plan. If our first plan doesn't work or we cannot do it because of the zone, here's what our second plan looks like. And this is how we're getting our points that way, right? We need to find a way to get our points regardless of what the circumstance is. So like, if we're just talking about traditional edge play, like if we're playing hard edge, you need to get 2 squad wipes, right? We're going to keep it cut and dry, super simple. Hey, we don't have an evac. We can't get to the spot that we want in zone. How are we getting 2 squad wipes this game? We need to get 10th place, 6 kills. That's how we're doing it. If you get 8 points, you average 8 points a game going into any lobby, you'll place pretty much top 4 at the lowest guaranteed. So it's just knowing knowing your game plans and just sticking to it and adhering to it as much as you possibly can.
Okay. That's fair, without spilling too much sauce for sure. Don't want to overstep by any means, but can I dig a little deeper and ask you, what is Talmadge's perfect comp? What is his favorite comp at the very least?
If I had to pick one, like that's what we're running for champs no matter what.
You don't have to say for champs.
Like most fun.
I don't want you to give any secrets away, but just like your opinion throughout the entire game. What's your favorite comp?
My favorite comp. In terms of like watching it and coaching it, it's definitely Horizon Fear Cat. Like that comp has so much playmaking potential. It's so fun. It's a hard ass comp to execute though. It's your player. You have to have players with a lot of autonomy, and they need to know what they need to do in any given moment. And it's more of like a counter-attacking thing, I think, or like actually playing in zone and messing with teams around you that way, or killing teams zone rotate.
I agree very much.
I think taking hard edge or like taking, it's hard on hard edge. You can do it, but you're basically guaranteeing that you only have one rotate tool or one way to like soft reset, and it's with Catalyst. Here in Horizon don't do a whole lot for you. Like Cyril's pretty mid now. Like they've neutered the fuck out of that character.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of okay, but it's like whatever. You're playing steer for the passive and the scan all the time. So like Catalyst just makes it. You have one rotate tool. Like you have to play it. You feel like you need to play it perfectly. So it's like POI dependent in my opinion. Okay. That's if like I could play that on any map. That's what I would play, and I would ask us to play. But it's too execution dependent, I think.
Yeah, and I think right now it's in a rough spot as far as having so much shields involved and having so much isolated space that's just you and the boys.
Yeah.
Full reset space. Yeah. It almost makes it to where there's no dead space really in the game as long as your utility uptime and you're being disciplined within your utility.
Yeah. As long as you're not hitting as long as you're not doubling up on Newcastle and Gibby Qs, you're fine. You'll live.
One of the things that I was also told to ask about, this is a little off topic. I think we might have covered it earlier, but got it requested from a chat. Do you have a Gibby alt story? From Nick.
Do I have a Gibby alt story?
I was told to ask about a Gibby alt story from Nick.
Yeah, I do actually. Okay. So when we were playing CC scrims, I think this was me, Nick, and Raven playing. They had me playing Gibby, and I can't remember what they were playing in that. No, he probably has the clip. If it's Nick asking you, then he has the clip. Where they were getting shit on. We were in South Siphon, right by where the res beacon is. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We were playing for an end game. It was like 4 or 5 squads alive, maybe. And Raven and Nick got shit on the cross. Like they were crossing from the res beacon to the blue bins, I think, in front of it. Mm-hmm. And they got shit on, and they were begging me to bub, and I said no. Oh no, he's talking about a different story. No, okay, the Gibby bub story is a different one than the Gibby old story. I told the Gibby bub story. There's one where they were like bub, and I said no, and then they just fucking died. Which that one's a good one. But the Gibby ult story is, he's got the clip. I know he has the clip. It was me, James, and Nick playing CC scrims again, and we were playing the north. That was like northeast overlook, like where the res building is, like that little 2-floor building where the res is. And we had already killed like 2 or 3 teams in that end game, or like in that mid game, and then we ended up taking a fight and then having to like we were like on edge of zone fighting in like the final zone close, and the zone was pushing into the middle, like so everybody had to push out into that middle open space where the truck is, the other truck is, and then like where the mechanic building is. You're just in that open field. And so I think it was either James or Nick threw a bub down on the edge of our zone, or we fought into a bub, and there were like 5 Gibbiels that went down at the same exact time, bro. 5 in a row. I swear to God, to the point where my game fucking crashed. Like, we were fighting in a bub and my game just exploded. I got back in and then we were dead. It was bullshit. I was playing on a burger PC at that point, so it wasn't gonna work. It wasn't happening.
Oh man, that's rough. I've got some more questions for you. They're a little bit more off topic.
Bro, is this Nick just asking you like 15 questions?
No, the Gibby story was actually from Afro from my chat. So I slid over to Evil real quick. I was like,
fucking James.
Fuck man, I gotta get back my train of thought. That was funny. So, what are we looking at as far as TSM's expectations for year 5?
Oh, for year 5?
For year 5, yes sir. Going out of champs, just again a little bit post champs. I don't want to look forward too much, but
I would say if I had to put a plan together today, it's for us to get as comfortable on as many legends as we possibly can in different roles. So I hope those boys are hopping on and playing some fucking ranked, because we're gonna have to learn on the fly and adjust on the fly to like, hey, a character of ours just got banned. We're gonna have to, what's our next option and what's our fallback option of when that one gets banned, you know? So you end up having to switch characters into different roles based on what people are comfortable doing. It's gonna be really fun for viewers, for the players. This shit's gonna be fucking hard, man. In Pro League, I will tell you right now, the bottom 10 to 15 teams in Pro League are going to fuck up the lobby quality so bad on game day after like game 4, because nobody knows how to play anything. Those guys all have full-time jobs, or they're not good enough to like compete with the top teams. So they're just going to be running around playing fucking Mirage Rampart or something like that, and they're just going to be shitting on everybody in the lobby, and then we just die in pileups. It's going to be bad, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be really entertaining.
I had this question in my pocket for reserve, but I'm so happy you said it instead of me. Thoughts on the legend ban stuff, man? We got it leaked a little early to us, and we've been kind of holding on to it for your opinion. We didn't want to spoil that question for anybody besides you. What are your thoughts about the legend ban situation, and is that a full committal by the devs? Last time I saw, it seemed that they were heavily considering it, and the reactions were kind of like, please don't.
I'll start by saying that yes, I'm super psyched for it. It's fun. It's another way for, you know, teams that have great support staff to be able to get another advantage, which I'm always going to ask for. Any way that we can gain an advantage for our teams, that's going to benefit us. You know, people that spend time thinking about the game outside of playing it. When you have somebody like that in your corner and they're putting out good ideas, or they're just putting out ideas in general, and you can test whether they're good or shit. I think that's beneficial in a team-based game, no matter what, you know. So, what I've slowly like found out over the last year is that people, like, especially when you're talking about competitors, we're going to complain about whatever's going to happen next, or like something that we may not like because it goes against what like we're comfortable doing. If that makes sense, right? Like people are, when it makes someone uncomfortable at the thought of like having to do something different or having to like think outside of the box critically, they're gonna be like, no, don't do that. We got to play World's Edge for another fucking 10 years. Can't touch that map. We got to play it. It's perfect. It's never been better. That map fucking blows. I hope to God they get rid of that fucking map. I hate playing that map. But you see a lot of competitors, they're just kind of, their initial reaction most of the time, like you've seen it for just about any change in this entire game that they've done for competitive. When they added Stormpoint, they were like, fuck no, don't do that. We got to play World's Edge till the end of time. Never any other maps. Stormpoint turned out to be a lot of people's favorite map in competitive. We talk about the Evo change system. They're just like, wait, what? They're getting rid of armors on the ground? They can't fucking do that. And then we ended up playing and we're like, oh, this is actually way better for the quality, like the health of the game. And the fact that you had the ability to get triple purple coming out of your POI in a minute 30 is bullshit. I'm really glad that they implemented that.
The original crafting.
Yeah. Oh my God. People sitting in zone crafting. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, the fucking C9 basing their entire macro around where they can rotate and sit and burn syringes in zone to get red armors. Like, suck my dick, man. But yeah, this change is really fun, man. It opens the door. The skill gap gets wider for sure. So teams just got to get comfortable learning other legends and potentially having to switch up roles for depending on what comp you're playing. It's great.
So, not really. I mean, I guess it's kind of somewhere around that area as far as coaching perspectives are. But what would be your advice to coaches, CC level coaches getting into Apex to begin with? I've got people in my Discord that's gonna be asking you questions here in a minute. Hopefully we get a little more in, but we got people that are, I mean, tier 4, just not getting into comp, full-time jobs, dad gamers, coaches who tried IGLing, washed out. They want to still be involved in the game. They're very passionate about it. From 0 to hero, what was your best advice you could give yourself back then, and then what would you give the community as well?
I would say, number one, try to find a community of people, or cultivate a community of people. It can be a friend group to start, and then just start slowly branching out from there. Of getting people involved with thinking about the game, because at the end of the day, this community, and even if this stuff leads you to not even becoming a professional coach, but just to do it out of the passion of it and because you enjoy helping people, I still think that's a great benefit to have, right? That's still a win in my book. Even if I didn't become a professional coach, right, I still gained so many great experiences and memories of just being with my friends in this game and having fun and learning so many cool things and learning about myself as a person. I'd say that the number one piece of advice is to find people that want to get better with you, and then start forming a community or join a community. There's so many different communities and servers, man, of people that you guys have a coaching Discord right here.
Yep.
You guys have your own people that you branch out to and you talk to, and then they come back to you with more info, or they come to you with new people hey, this person might want to join. Great, fucking bring them in. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So I would say form a community, and then if it's something that you want to take seriously, you got to just find a time to do it. Just show up to work every day. It's show up. If you show up every day, you'll be amazed at how much progress that you end up making by the end of the year, man. It's night and day. If I could comparing myself now, what I know and what I can teach to people now compared to what I did when I started doing this shit in Pro League, oh my God, it's not even close, man. And it's just because you show up every day. You show up, try to find something new to work on, or maybe you just start working on the things that you already know that you're good at. And then when you squeeze the most amount out if you can out of something, if we're talking about macro, right? Here's an example. When I first joined, my calling card was that I felt like I had a pretty strong understanding of how to consistently get into end games and how teams rotate around the map, showing teams how they rotate around the map, right? Here's strategies for how you get to power positions and shit of the map and playing that way. I had very little experience in actually talking about team fighting and the micro decisions that you make in a game. But when you squeeze out something so much of macro, I was okay, well, we're getting diminishing returns on me actually talking about this anymore. I need to pivot. I need to find a new way to think about something different. And it goes down into talking about the micro side of the game, your actual small decisions, what does our teamwork look like when we're talking about ability usage, when we're talking about resetting, what does this situation look like, how do we do it? You start talking about the game and putting it into different situations. I think the best person that had a great example of this was Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick used to always preach situational football. So they would just practice different situations. They'd be dropping the ball at midfield and the ball would be slippery as shit because they put a hose on it, and they're here, you need to go and lead a drive. You need to go lead this drive with a wet football. Here we're dropping the ball. Hey, it's third and 8 at your own 26. What are you going to do here? What are we calling? What are you looking for? What's your decision? You can apply that to Apex. You can apply that to your own fucking life.
I oftentimes, I don't know if you've watched the episode or not, but from Texas, born and raised, grew up with that culture of football. I carry that mentality about so much that I learned through high school, through junior high, being around those different coaches and influences, to my little stint in college ball that I got to have before I blew my knee out. It was really fun. It was so many influences and lessons from that game specifically I've carried with me through life and into this game, and like it all holds true, man. So I loved like hearing that from somebody as of your stature and what you're doing in the game right now. To kind of segue into my next question, I think this is a great time for it. I talk a lot about specific drills that we could do. I'm very like practice oriented with what we do, and I'm trying to reform ways that we approach that as far as coaches as well. Not to kind of be a jabberwocky, but I'm currently working on a bot with a guy that is going to basically record mine and Rolly's coaching, and you have access to my Discord. You can type in a command, and any of those lessons that we've ever covered will be within that bot, and like it's just free
Great.
game without us even being here, right? Great tool. Another thing that we're going to be doing is like private lobby. Not everyone has access to it, but for those who do, one of the great resources that I love to do within private lobbies, besides just kind of walking around and exploring different loot paths and like rates of spawns and stuff like that, is getting into team fighting with a drill I like to call Siege or Be Sieged, where we go and play Fragment, and I give teams maybe 5-10 seconds as if you were to walk into a building on rotation, and then send a team to siege that building from them as if they were also rotating to that building at the same time, and kind of work on team fighting within maybe green building, yellow building, cafe, stuff like that, to kind of work on these like situational aspects like what you're
Yeah.
talking about, So
Yeah,
with that being
that's
said,
awesome.
do you have anything that you guys do that's like specifically around those things as far as drills or maybe tools that you use within your gameplay to help the team out?
I try to make sure that we're focused on certain things that are, I think, like our fundamentals, what we try to base our gameplay off of. So things like shooting the same target whenever we possibly can. We're target calling and shooting same target as much as possible. Having one person anchor while another person walks up and cover their cross, so that way they're getting in a safe measure, or they're like capitalizing off of what the anchor gets in terms of damage.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of TDMs, like if you talk about TDMs, a lot of people, or like a lot of pros, they're not gonna like squeeze a whole lot out of TDMs other than like just them getting warmed up before scrims.
Right.
But I still think there's like value in talking about like your ability usage in 3v3s, and talking about like what your approach should be in terms of like which way we coordinate the fight inside of a small area, like inside of a bubble or inside of a small building. It's little things like that, like what you're talking about with Siege or Be Siege, man. Like it's just learning how to be able to work around those situations, or just being comfortable working through those when other teams aren't. Those are the advantages you create for yourself.
Okay, I love that response, man. I'm starting to get low on my questions. I've got maybe 2 or 3 more for you, and then after that, man, I want to open it up to the community, Knives, and get it back to rules, because I feel like I have worn you the fuck out over this last maybe 30 minutes I've been
Keep
bothering you.
going. Keep going, man.
One of my big ones for you. Don't want to get you in hot water. You guys, if you want to pass on it, totally fine. Elephant in the room as far as Apex is that our numbers are down. Year 5 is not in question by any means, but year 6, moving forward with comp and stuff like that, hear a lot of the community being worried about it. I'm not so much. I believe there's contracts obligations for them to continue the game on beyond year 5, but don't quote me on that. I'm a nobody. But with that being said, what is your opinion on the status of Apex? Do you see the game bouncing back in 2025? And if you could diagnose the problem, what would be your diagnosis?
Ooh, man.
Okay. Pass on any of them, bro. That's why I have. That's
No,
why I have.
I'll talk about it. It's a lot. It's a lot to talk about. I mean, just first of all, like, I don't really get like why people want to like be gloom doom about and wishing that something is unsuccessful. I think that's just such a loser ass fucking mindset about anything. Like it's we're all trying to end up making as much money, or to get as much opportunity out of something, squeeze as much out of it as we possibly can. And the way that happens is by us extending the life of the game, so that way it goes further than just year 5, right? So us like, oh, the numbers are down, dead fucking game, dude. It's like how does that help anybody? Do you just want to be right? You just want to be right. You don't even care about the fucking game. You're just like, I stopped playing this game years ago. Game shit. It's like, cool. Waste your fucking time. Year 5 and like onward. Year 5, like Apex has already said to Respawn and EA have already said to us that their numbers were down. They know that this game has been on a downward trajectory for a bit now. It's been over a year, right? So what a lot of people don't know that happens behind the scenes is that there's things like hiring and firing cycles of different developers. So the same people that were, you know, making the game what it was this last year, most of them probably aren't fucking there anymore. They either got fired or they moved to a better job or they moved to a job with an adjacent track. So it's all new people touching the game, and they hear our feedback. These guys, like, I'm just gonna say it, like, Apex for a while was just going off of, you know, only doing like one huge update every few months. That's not really enough, because a lot of games now, live service games, they're all starting to do like weekly or bi-weekly updates. You see Fortnite do that shit. They've been doing that for years. Fortnite would just randomly add items to the game. They just like, oh yeah, here's a sandbox mode. Oh yeah, here's another ability that ends up making the game. It gives it a fun twist to the game, right? And now Apex has started to copy that, right? Like you see it in the pubs. You see like those the fucking squares
The
or whatever
relics,
that you pick up. The relics, yeah. They add relics to the game, and people are like, there's no new content for the game. I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, like they're trying. They're trying to, like, these guys, this is their job too. They want the game to fucking succeed. The way that the game succeeds is by getting people to play the game again and to really enjoy and talk about Apex and then talk about it with their friends. Like, no, Apex is way better now. So I think to move on past that point, it's like you want for year 5, what I want most is I just want us to keep it consistent with these the bi-weekly updates that they've been doing. It's been great. Every 2-3 weeks now, we've been getting like small little changes. If they can do that and keep it going throughout the year, I think that does so much for the game, because it keeps people engaged instead of just like, all right, well, we got to wait another 2 months before anything substantial happens. You know what I'm saying? People are just going to be turned off by that, especially if they already feel like they're not having fun with the game and there's no significant changes happening for another month or two. It's like, why would they even play? Why would they even try? I think a rank system overhaul, but we've been asking for that for the years. I don't think that's their intention. I think they just want the game to be like low barrier to entry for ranked. And even if ranked is easy as shit, maybe they could spice it up a little bit by doing like a POI drafting thing. So like, you know, max 2 teams can fight for a POI, and then everybody else has to kind of like land at their own POI. A lot of teams will probably still bet on just like landing and contesting anyway. The better teams in the lobby will, or the teams that just don't give a fuck about their RP. But I think it's still better than us doing free for all drops in ranked, because nobody gives a fuck. And then for like year 5 to year 6, the game's got to, like, for competitive, it really is the backbone of the game, and they've said that. You know, they know that how, like, what type of viewership and revenue that competitive Apex players bring in for the game. I would really love for them to give us some form of like skins of any kind, or tags, or charms, something. Give it something to the orgs, so that way orgs can end up feeling like they can be sustainable in a longer sense, because that them getting or generating profit off of that, and then being able to crowdfund a prize pool and shit like that. Other games have been doing that for years. It's a successful model, and maybe that's just EA's stance. They're just like, we want to keep the money to ourselves. If that's the answer, then that's the answer. You know, they're probably not going to change their mind about that shit, unless like shareholders are just like, no, I think we should make this change. And then EA is like, oh, okay, well, listen to what the people who are investing in our company are doing. You know, but that's out of our hands completely.
Oh.
You know, so I would love, like, to put it succinctly, like, I would love to keep consistent with the bi-weekly updates they've been doing. I love that. I hope they continue to keep doing that. I would love for new characters as well, like some kind. If they want to do reworks of characters, that's okay too, right? Because it still gets people to try new characters and try different things. The map thing, I'm not like overwhelmingly wanting a new map. I think there's rumors of like a new map coming. It's like, sure, yeah, it gets people to come back to the game. I think your legend pool and other things involving like the core aspects of the gameplay loop contribute more to that than just like a brand new map. I know a lot of people care about new maps though, like especially casuals.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think just having that curiosity aspect to the game is really cool. I've been a big advocate over the last few years of that. Just like what you said about the bi-weekly updates being a great thing. I feel like we've been non-competitive as far as competing with updates of different games, having the new content come out, having the lore, stuff like that. I just feel like Fortnite specifically, I think it was a great example. They've genuinely just outpaced us to the point where it looks bad. I mean, I don't think before this moment in history where we've seen live service games kind of compete for this genre of battle royale and FPS shooters and stuff like that. I don't think we really had good examples for EA or anybody else to kind of follow in the footsteps. I think that all this is trailblazing. So like, there's gonna be examples of misplays. There's gonna be examples of maybe EA's devs making the wrong calls or hiring the wrong people. I'm one that I might dibble and dabble in other games as the game gets lower and lower, but Apex till the wheels falls off. I'm here. I love the game. I love the style, the variables it represents. I don't think there is another BR at all, even close to how fun and how great this game is.
No.
So, rules, knives. I haven't
Yeah.
been doubling back on you guys for questions.
About that, I'm gonna segue and keep on that because that's the biggest one in the room is this game dying, this, that, and the other. From multiple standpoints, I think that bi-weekly updates is a huge thing. I know I'm a massive Titanfall fan, so every week I was logging into pubs to find out when the hell I got that grenade launcher. So like if some small detail like that can get people to just log into the game and check it, that gives you an opportunity for them to play the game or find something or spend money, just something like that. There has to be some small, like just a carrot, just one carrot on a stick, dangle it in front of a certain group's face, get them in the game. Huge things. Going into year 4 and on, dude, we're people are going to Japan. We didn't have the diversity and global status of lands in this game. I'm sure it was expensive as all get out to get over there. So I don't think we just blow a bunch of money over there and think there's nothing for the future. I don't know how.
Right.
Obviously, I'm no event planner, but
Right.
Yep.
I was going to Rally for Champs during COVID. We were still pushing shit in North America. Now we're going to EU and Japan for other stuff. I don't think a game dying is going to just all of a sudden throw everything over to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree.
To add on to we all know about the rank system. I mean, people want to go back to 12 and 13. Like, ranked is ranked at that point. For content, I love new maps personally. When E-District came out, I probably spent religiously 4 hours in customs every day just sniffing that map out. So, new POI is a new way to play the game. Thank goodness it came into competitive because I feel like it was competitive was kind of getting stale between just, I mean, we've played World's Edge forever.
Yeah.
Stormpoint, we kind of been playing it for 2 or 3 years now. We kind of figured out that map. It's one of the best competitive maps out there. So something new, thriving. Definitely need that content. And to piggyback off of Evil for trailblazing, you know how many people were copying off of Apex Legends off the rip? Fortnite didn't have respawn banners. Nobody was doing crafting like we were. There's all kinds of trailblazing being done for Apex, but we're so quick to throw out dead game, best, worst game out there, this, that, and the other. I think people just cope and yap and really just need to focus on that more supportive, like, we all seen his Watson video. That third-party aspect to creating content of the game does really suck. Getting the cease and desist. I'm a R5 enthusiast. I have my students at work, my kids, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds working on the mechanics of that stuff. I feel like there really needs to be support for that. Or like our firing range got updated simply, I feel, because of R5. I think as a community we just need to, you know, band together and do as much as we possibly can. Otherwise, we're just killing our own jobs, especially people who are invested as much as we are. That negativity and stuff is just killing our own jobs at that point.
Yeah,
So
it didn't help anybody. It's not helping anybody.
just shut the hell up and figure something out, man.
let's figure something else out. Come on.
I just don't see from a content creator perspective because I see it the most from them specifically. I mean, I get the impression farming and like rage baiting people, but genuinely, what's the outcome? What's the end game here that we're playing if we're gonna bash the game that got you here? You know, so like, I genuinely just don't conceptually just understand the end game of what we're working towards from that perspective. You know.
And I want to clarify that I'm not saying that you can't give constructive criticism about what you think is good and bad about the game. I encourage people to do that. That's the only way people get better is if you are constructive with what you're saying. right? Even if you're deconstructive about it and you're just bashing it, maybe there's some truth to it, but it's going to get along a lot clearer if you don't sound like a fucking baby when you're talking about the game.
I
You
agree.
know, people will listen to you a lot more.
I
Nice.
think
What about you,
working on
man?
opinions go a long way.
There was like so much going on. What'd you say?
I said, what about you, man? I'm giving the
Oh,
mic
oh,
over to
oh.
you.
Yeah. Sorry. So, Champs is coming up. How are you preparing yourself mentally for that biggest tournament of the year? Do you do anything differently compared to like split 1, split 2? How are you gonna bring that all in? How are you gonna lay
Besides
down
coming on the
table for
coach's
yourself?
buff, and getting the pep talk from the boys,
Yeah, this is the biggest buff I needed right here, man. I'm glad I'm here.
Love that.
I would say this is like, so if we've been at like 80 to 90% in terms of like what we've been doing together as a team, now it's 100%. So we're going to be spending probably as much time as we possibly can together during the day, like for whatever 3 to 4 days a week, depending on how much you're scrimming, 3 to 5 days a week. We want to make it so that way we're getting as much info down, and that way we know basically down to like to the T of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish in every single map and every game. Right? We want to make the game as simple as possible for us on game day, so that way all we have to do is just go out there and play. I would say, since there's going to be a new patch on Tuesday, I'm anticipating that there's going to be teams like reworking and shuffling their legends. So now we have to figure out, how do we defend against this thing? How do we end up attacking this comp specifically? And then just talking about situational Apex again, getting down to like the actual fine details, talking about, what are we doing in this exact situation? So that way when this happens on game day, it's automatic. And teams have to teams are spending a lot of their brain power trying to think about how they're going to approach it, but we already have that down to intuition. So it lets us work faster.
Gotcha. And kind of like to backtrack a little bit, a few questions back, into like joining TSM. The fans were passionate. Everyone was passionate about TSM. You had some big shoes to fill between Hal and Raven leaving. Was there any sort of pressure you felt joining TSM to keep the fans happy, keep bringing in home good placements, good trophies? How'd you manage all that?
I would say, hell yeah, there's expectations to fulfill. You've got expectations going and doing your job every day too. You got to fulfill it up to a certain requirement. I can say for certain that I've grown tremendously since I started working with TSM. It's forced me to end up expanding my horizon and thinking more about how I can holistically help the team. I would say that keeping the fans happy and stuff like that, as long as you're winning, it keeps asses in the seats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I want people to stay invested in this game because I fucking love this game. You guys love this game. The players clearly love being able to do what they love as a passion and make a lot of money doing it. I think when you put all that together and you start with like, from a learning perspective, you're just like, hey, if we can get all of our details down to like everybody understands it and we're working on the same wavelength about every single situation in this game, the results will speak for themselves, essentially. Especially when you do this for a job and you get to practice this game 40, 50 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's way more than somebody that does this as like a part-time job, So keep the fans happy. You do that by winning. And the only way to consistently win is by being consistently better than the people that you're going up against.
I love that answer, dude. That's definitely a Chad gamer answer right there, brother. Just kind of want to double down that one more time as far as like your work ethic going into this. Not to beat a dead horse or anything like that, but have you noticed anything different from the boys? I know you guys just came back from holiday break, so I'm sure they're a little, maybe fat and sluggish right now. But is there anything as far as attitude differences? Or are we coming in locked and cocked, or are we coming in, still relishing the holiday time? What's the vibes like currently, and stuff like that?
We're all pretty eager to get back, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I mentioned it earlier, but we'll have a meeting later today. It'll be a brief one, but I mean, we're all hands on deck now, man. Like if there's ever a time to be all in, we're all in, because this shit, we're leaving for Japan in What date? What's the date today? The 5th.
5th, yeah.
Yeah, the 5th.
Yeah, we leave in 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's crunch time, man. So this is the time when we truly find out if we're great or not.
Hell yeah, brother. Love that answer. Knives, rules. You guys got anything else for him as far as questions?
Sure, if you
Um,
can
Yeah, go ahead,
segue
Knives.
into the community. No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Well, since Talmadge has the most land experience out of all of us here, by far, you guys are leaving in 3 weeks anyway, boot camp, stuff like that. What, like, give us the inside scoop on land. Now, I've been to lands in the chairs, yelling and drinking, you know.
Yeah.
What's it like behind the line and the now comfortable chairs, right? And then outside the game, like, you know, you eat and do that stuff. Like, what is what is showing up with the boys like?
Oh man, it's really it's a great experience, man. I really love that EA, you know, goes the extra mile with making sure that the players are accommodated. Nice hotel, good food, our travel's good, and it's always short to the arena, like 10-15 minutes max.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to roll up as a team together, and then especially when you're getting on stage for the first time, like right before the set starts and you're setting up your equipment, you really start to take it in, especially on like Winter's Day and Finals Day. You get to drink that moment, and you're just like, this is it's amazing that you get to do what you do for a living. You know, I'm truly blessed that I'm able to do this, and I feel it just as much as the players feel it. I think the coolest moment at a LAN that I've had is right after we've ended up finishing 4th at Split 2. We ended up going out and signing like a bunch of pictures and taking photos with a bunch of like the people that are involved, like TSM fans that travel for the events. I'm assuming when we go to Sapporo, it's going to be fucking massive in terms of TSM support. I know it's really big in Japan. So I am fully anticipating us having like a meet and greet that lasts like probably 2-3 hours, because the line's going to be like out the door.
Oh yeah. And to segue off of LAN experiences with the boys, can you just for shits and giggles, do you have any stories you'd like to share? Just funny moments in the hotel, like for Raleigh, North Carolina, like we tactical nuked a bathroom inside that hotel from like corn dog, like from the hot stadium beer and hot dogs, like stories like that, dude. Like we caustic ulted that shit and we left, bro. So like crazy stuff like that. Man. Like let me know.
I haven't thankfully, like the people that like I had my own room at Split 1 playoffs. EWC I also had my own room, and then Split 2 I shared a room with Zap, but I know Zap during Split 1 playoffs had to end up rooming with Shuby, because I don't know if you guys know, but how the accommodations work for most players is that they do two rooms. They give you 2 rooms, EA does, and they're like, amongst the 4 of you, you figure it out, or you just pay for your own room by yourself.
Right.
So Zap and Shuby ended up rooming together in the first LAN, and in the LA hotel that we stayed at, certain rooms had frosted glass over like the showers, and then other ones didn't. Like it would just be like straight see-through fucking glass. So it would force Shuby and Zap to like, they basically have to, like, if they're laying down in their bed, one of them is like just getting up, the other one's hopping in the shower. It would force one of them to just like do this and lay over in bed and look the other way the entire time. And it's just too funny that like certain rooms, like it's a priority for frosted glass, so that way you don't see somebody's Johnson, and then the other ones they're just like, no, you can see right through that shit. We don't care.
That's insane. Fly out to LAN and you're just like, I'm one craned neck away from seeing some shit.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna wake up and you know you're gonna be facing the shower when you're waking up, and then the first thing you see is that, and you're just like, oh my god.
Mental shocked. Your team meeting, you're like, dude, I just saw Shub shit, man.
You're just
I
like,
gotta
dude,
go.
I just saw Shub's dick, man. Like, I'm not in the mood to talk to you about this shit right now.
I mean, what better way to know your teammate's just fucking carrying that 11-inch fucking donkey?
Oh,
you know what
no.
I'm saying, bro?
Oh, no.
What more confidence do you need in your teammate? Like, what more of big dick energy example do you need?
Or worse, you show up game day and you lose to that guy, and you're like, oh man, that guy's got a fucking 11-inch hog, man. Fuck, how can I can't compare to that.
In-game, out-of-game
That's
problems. Tough.
Don just messaged in my chat and he said that he saw Zainu's meet every morning and Zainu saw his meet every morning. So
Oh no. That's terrible.
That's tough. That's tough. I'm glad I asked the
gotta
question.
get your own room. Just pay for your own room next time, bro. It only
Yeah.
costs you about $1,000.
Sheesh, holy fuck.
$1,000 frost mirror.
I don't know, man. If you got it, you got it. If you don't, enjoy the meat show.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
that's one way to promote community, man.
That's one
Yep.
way. All right, Evo. I know you're collecting a bunch of questions from the community. Knives, anything else? We got a good laugh out of me. So what's up?
I'm just taking all in. I don't really.
I know you're such a sponge. I feel bad. I feel like we're not giving you an
Yeah,
opportunity,
no.
but you just soak all the information up and then you go boom. Mental health. How does this apply? So I'm giving you that time to
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's been a really cool opportunity just to even be here. You know what I mean? Like you guys giving me the opportunity to be here because I suggested it. But
No, hats off
it's
to you.
cool.
I don't know why I didn't ask, but like hats off to you.
Well, if we're going to dive into the community questions, I'm gonna show a little biased. My fragger and Mia, 16-year-old, got a beam on him, man. He's one of the better ones out there in that region as far as mechanical skills. One of the questions, or a couple of the questions he asked, want to cover them first. Starting off with, what is the best way to handle disappointments personally and as far as a team perspective?
Oh my God. Everybody, oh dude, this is such a hard question. Everybody handles it differently. I would say, if like from my personal experience, losing, especially in like heartbreaking fashion, never gets easier. It never will. You just learn to manage it better. You're still gonna feel sad, and it's okay to feel sad and disappointed about what the results happen. The most important thing is what you take away from it after the fact. It's okay to feel bad. It is. You don't have to muffle up and tell yourself you can't feel bad about something or you can't feel sad. It's good that you feel those things and it's healthy. I will say that dealing with that stuff, it never gets like any easier, right? Like me dealing with the disappointment of EWC, I felt fucking terrible. Like I felt like I let the team down, and I felt like I was gonna lose my job, like point blank period, you know. But they gave me another shot, and it pushed me to end up getting deeper in the weeds with the details, and it pushed me to be an even better coach, than what I was. Like it's like I told you, man, it was a night and day difference. But those moments like that, especially even in CC, man, you still can. It still sucks. It still sucks to lose.
Yeah,
No matter how big or small, it doesn't have to be LAN. It could be fucking CC, man. You still disappointed, and that's okay. It's just make sure that you're taking what you need to learn from it. Give it space, and then a couple days later, you're like, all right, let's actually look at the games. Let's get into the details of why we sucked.
One thing to piggyback on you there, brother. I think that I've been called crazy for this comment multiple times, but I think one of the traits of a great team is having to face that adversity, having to face great and hard disappointment together.
Yep.
Building together after that, building it back brick by brick. Nothing pulls you together more than that, Nothing lights that fire underneath you than getting your fucking teeth punched in and knowing that am I going to lay here on the ground and taste blood, or am I going to get up and do something about it, So,
110%, man.
You,
I love it. I love it, bro.
Well, unless you're a Challengers roster and you break up after that.
North America? We're talking about you, North America. Okay, so another question from Jelly, this is the other one he sent me, is what do you feel like separates the top CC / bottom relegated Pro League teams from consistently placing LAN and high Pro League teams?
I missed the first half of the question, so could you repeat
Yeah,
it?
absolutely, brother. What separates the top CC Challenger Circuit teams / bottom Pro League relegated Pro League teams from consistently making LANs, or from being a roster that consistently makes LANs?
Having an identity for how you want to play the game. That comes from like It starts from the top. It starts from, your decision makers. If you have a coach, it comes from your coach and your IGL, and you guys have to form some kind of identity and understanding of how you want to approach the game on a consistent basis, right? You're going to stick to your plans on a consistent basis, right? Because those are your plans. If you're not sticking to your plans, then what are we doing here?
If anybody, like all my players right now are clenching their fists because of how many times they've heard me stay within the fucking philosophy, do what we've practiced to do. So like hearing you say that, they're pissed right now. They're so mad.
I mean, any coach will tell you that though. I mean, the only time that like deviating from the plan is ever going to be beneficial for you is if it is like a consensus agreement amongst the four of you. It's like the way that we initially thought we were going to go into the tournament isn't fucking working. It doesn't work, and we don't feel comfortable doing it. So all of you need to come together and say in that moment, let's do what we initially did, and it'll probably work out better. Yep. Perfect example is EWC. We played Path Watson Bang, and it was from zone POIs, and it was fucking terrible. We've never done that before, but we were getting fake feedback from scrims because the scrims were troll, and people are just running around and dying on 300 ping. But you get into game day and you get bad beacon luck from zone POIs, and you're playing a comp that you don't really even believe in. It's like, why were we even doing this in the first place? So halfway through the elimination round, Jordan and Evan were like, let's just switch back to Sear Bank Fuse, and let's just play how we did in Pro League, where we just got second. And that was the right answer. They scored 45 points in 4 games. It wasn't enough for us to qualify for finals, but that was the right answer the whole time. I just didn't see it.
Another question from the community. This one comes more from Vortex. I'm getting more of these as we go, so might have to speed through some of these guys and not get a chance to follow up on them with you. But how does a team full of natural IGLs become more cohesive together? Is a question from the Vortex family.
It doesn't work.
Nope.
You can't have 3 IGLs on a team. It never works. It never will, because you have 3 different ideas of what you want to do in a certain moment, and you have enough gumption to be able to say, I want to do it this way, and it fucks up everybody else's flow when you're like, hey, I want to do this plan instead of 2 of your teammates doing this. Like, you guys are already off the path. It's going to be a 2v3 no matter what. Or this dude runs and goes and tries to 1v3 and just dies. That shit never works. You have to be on the same page. It's part of being a team. I don't give a fuck how big or small your ego is. Just the part of being a team, the point of being a team is doing things together and coming to common conclusions together. So do things together. Don't say I'm an IGL when you're not a fucking IGL. Just because you can use your mic, that doesn't mean you're an IGL. Follow who the person that you have designated is the leader of the team and do it. Just execute your plans. You don't have to always be the person in the right. Just do what is best for the team.
Yep.
That's an amazing question, seeing as TSM had to go through trialing IGL and flipping roles to figure that out. That's a great question.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty.
No, that is. It's great. You don't have 3 IGLs. That's the answer. You don't have 2 IGLs. You have 1. Follow the person that is your IGL and follow the game plan and execute. Keep it simple. Don't be fucking idiot.
I have another question that is right along the lines of this, so we're gonna go with them over my other VTX family on this one. But what are your character defining traits within your IGL? What are you looking for as far as the perfect IGL?
Accountability, confidence in their own calls and what they see in the game, and then being able to give me pushback on things, even if I feel like I'm right in the moment, for them to be able to give me their perspective on things. I ask that from all of my teammates. If you see something that you think is right, I'll say okay, and we can look at it in the moment, or even if it's in that moment, or if it's after the games when we're doing review. I'd rather you be honest with me and tell me, no, I think that this was right. I just need you to see it from my perspective of what was happening. And if I'm right or you're right, whatever the answer ends up being, it makes us a better team. You just have to come to a common conclusion about things, right?
Love that answer. I got burned on this one, man. I can't believe the community got me on this one, and I didn't ask this myself. What is it like between the lines, between games, from match 1 to match 2 with TSM Talmadge as your head coach? What are your between game adjustments like?
It's more so making sure that everybody's on the same timing for what they're trying to achieve in a moment. So it can be something like, are we capitalizing off the space that we should be taking with nades? Are we using our abilities in a way that actually gives us space or creates an opportunity for us? If we're not doing that, then that's the easy correction, right? If you're going into a tournament and you already feel like your philosophy isn't going to work, it's not going to work, man. It just doesn't work, right? So it's all about just making sure that you guys have a firm identity of what you're trying to do and you're adhering to that as much as you possibly can. And if it doesn't work, or you guys feel like together it's just not comfortable and it's not working, then let's talk about it, right? But it's not when you're coaching, you don't want to end up taking like massive adjustments in between games, because it leads to like, if this is like one end of the spectrum, it'll lead them to like try to overexert it and go to this end of the spectrum, and then like eventually you'll get to this common point too much, like on a consistent basis. But you want to make sure that you're not taking these massive swings to try to get them to like do something completely different outside of the game plan, right? If they know their role, they know what they need to be doing. It's just about being on the same wavelength and being on the timing that your teammates need you. That's it.
All right, man. I've got another one from the VTX org, Vortex org. Average Bear asked, what criteria does TSM Talmadge use to determine what POIs and what rotations are beneficial for them?
Sticking to our philosophy, so it'll be, we like playing edge. We like having as much juiced armor as we possibly can, getting close to reds for sure. Guaranteed, we're ending up on purples before we do anything. We have to get purples. We're oftentimes playing for third ring console info because we want to see where the next zone is pulling, and then we're forming a plan based off what the third zone pull is telling us.
All right, love that answer, brother. One thing I have to piggyback off of that is, question for you as well is, do you feel like round 3 zones, round 3 map info console is overpowered, and is that something that like you specifically guide the guys to do and like to play for more often than not?
Yeah, I mean, I think like playing for third should be a prerequisite for most edge teams. Like, I mean, you're already late to zone anyway. Like, what is the point of you not playing for third? Unless you physically can't because there's teams just gatekeeping you, or there's no ring console that spawned. So within reason, you should always be trying to play for third on like the edge of the map. That's the point of playing edge, is that you're trying to gain different advantages that edge teams don't have, right? Edge teams, or zone teams, excuse me, get their loot. They have smaller amounts of loot. They'll have like blues, or like halfway to blues, and then they'll go and play some kind of spot in green zone, which is zone 2. But the thing is that they don't oftentimes get the same info, so they're just taking like accurate, like they're doing guesstimation work. They're just throwing darts at the board. They're like, hey, zone can end here, can end here, can end here. Can we play like a spot that maybe pivots between all 3 of those equally? Can we play a spot that we would rather hedge to where like the good terrain is on the zone? But edge is like you're trying to stack as many advantages as you can because you're late getting to zone, right? So you want to get kitted guns, you want a bunch of nades, you want meds, you want purple armors, or like as close to red as you can. You want the fucking mythic bin. Like, I think the mythic bin's an awesome addition to the game. I love that they've added that. I love that they've added the little square cubes that give you plus 100 or plus 1,000 if you open up random like bins after they reset. I love that.
Yep. From the VTX Trap Jokers, Vortex Esports Trap Jokers, she asked, what resources do I specifically as an IGL need to look up to become better at my role?
Resources.
So I think, to clarify, one of the things that like I teach some of these guys is like using overstats, ring guesser game, going through VOD reviewing, stressing certain emphasis on like how we're approaching, for example, our team fights, or being within the philosophy of looking for the high ground, the most advantageous position for looking for these team fights, stuff like that. What resources can an IGL specifically use to become better at those things?
I would say doing review as a team, and also like reviewing other teams' gameplay as a team and as individuals. That can make you a lot better and help you fill out your decision making, help you understand the why. I know a lot of pro teams don't really. I would say most pro teams have a why. They understand why they're doing things. But even like learning from professional players, it can be just try not to learn like mechanic stuff too much from pros, unless you're talking about like R5, because I do think R5 is a great resource. I think R5 is awesome. I think the Ring Guesser game is awesome. Nothing is going to be like playing the game and getting actual feedback for yourself, though. So as much out of game time as you're doing, you need to be putting a little bit more time into actually playing the game and getting better in terms of your in-game gameplay.
Love that answer as well, brother. I've got a question from my and really spooky our IGL on Freaky Apex. Ask, what is your opinion on value of zone scan versus man scan as a hard edge team?
I think third ring console is it's beneficial. It's for sure beneficial. I think man scan is also equally beneficial, but when you use them in tandem with one another, it makes the game really simple for professional players, because they know oftentimes where the zone's going most of the time. As long as if they get third zone info, they'll have a pretty good idea. And so when you have both of those at the same time and you're able to make like an evac play off of it, or if you have Valk or Pathfinder characters that help you fill like gap close or skip open space, it makes the game really easy in terms of just getting as close to end zone as you can. Right? That's everybody's goal, is to try to find a way to get to as close to end zone as you can, because that's the least amount of work you need to do from there. Right? You know where the game's ending.
Love that response too, brother. I might double down on that 1 second if you guys don't have anything for that one. If you had to pick one, let's say you're going through a challenger circuit, and I know you're probably a lot less experienced versus the pro league time you put in at this point in your career, but if you were going through a challenger circuit and you know the way those lobbies play out from BLGS, they're pretty volatile. Which one would you prioritize more in those situations if you were playing the double support Pathfinder comp?
Oh, okay. I would say it, like, if we're talking Storm Point and you have a car, I would prioritize I would probably prioritize ring console.
Mhm.
I think just from a beginner standpoint, like if we're talking about CC or we're talking about like people that are intermediate like that, ring console is never really going to let you down or fail you. Man scan can kind of be deceptive sometimes, especially early game, because you'll see teams like randomly cluster up in spots. But that's not even where zone's going. So ring console is always going to be true to you because it's perfect info on where the game is likely ending. So I would always just stick, like, rule of thumb, just stick to ring console first. Don't go man scan.
Love that response from you, brother. I've got another one. Do you guys have anything to follow up? I'm kind of speed running these because I keep getting them like as we get through one, I'm getting like 2 or 3 more as we go. So kind of on an infinite loop here.
That's a good answer.
All right. In your personal opinion, what is the best comp for E-District specifically? We use Newcastle, Catalyst, and Watson currently to hold space because we're fearful of people taking that space. What are your thoughts about that? This is from a CC's team, by the way.
You said it was Newcastle, Catalyst, Watson?
Yes, they're doubling down on control, it feels like, I guess.
Okay. I would say that Newcastle, Watson is pretty redundant. They both do similar things and fulfill similar things. I would recommend looking into like either swapping one of them out. You could keep Newcastle for sure and do like Newcastle Cat, or you could do like Gibby Cat Watson if you wanted to do that. Gibby gives you a little bit different flavor. It gives you more offensive potential. You could also play Bangalore too. You could play Pathfinder. Just make sure that you're not like overlap. Like Watson and Newcastle fulfill similar things. They do similar things. You don't want to have like too many characters that overlap and do similar things. I think, because then you're doing the same things. You're fulfilling the same actions over on top of each other when you could just end up having a slight advantage doing something slightly different.
Nowhere near your stats, so just to get my 2 cents on this, 10,000% agree. I think that whenever you're building compositions, you want to be addressing utility specifically, and how much utility can be variable resistance. How much utility falls to specific variables. That way you kind of understand where you can fight, who you can fight, when you can fight. Are we an uptime dependent where if we're cycling our shields in current meta, we're going to be good, or are we basing it completely around our Bangalore smokes for our, rotation through micro? Are we going to supplement it with a cat wall and have the cat wall / control feature? So you just want to be able to address as many of those variables as possible within your character composition is my philosophy on this topic.
Yeah, well said.
Rules, knives, you guys got anything?
No, I'm happy with that answer, especially as someone who definitely prefers castle over it and the castle shield perk over the longer wall.
I don't disagree with you.
We've had some Padawans that want to argue with me about shield slamming. You know, if you're gonna sit there forever, you might as well just put another wall down. Just you have extra shield. So I'm satisfied with that answer.
Yeah. No, it definitely depends. Like those perks are both really good. But, I mean, it just depends on what you want to do, right? Are you going a little bit earlier in the zone and you want to play spots that are a little bit more dangerous than probably the shield HP, like the shield wall HP. But then like the res, or not the res, but the shield regen itself is really good, I think, for like edge teams that are trying to like fight their way into zones, or teams that are ending up like pushing slowly towards a gibby bub, and then if you're taking a little bit of damage trying to get them to force bub, you can force a Newcastle Slam on them and you're still getting the HP regen when you're pushing forward into the wall. It's really good too.
I've got an off-topic one here. It's completely out of the realm of Apex. If you're not versed or feeling comfortable answering this one, feel free. One of the homies from my OG days of playing just sent me this one. Do you have an opinion on the current Final Four for NCAA football and who's going to win, who's going to be national championships, anything like that, as well as the NFL playoffs? Is there a team that Talmadge roots for? I guess is the question, simply put.
My college team is Nebraska, so we suck. So it's Penn State.
Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State are the last four left.
I'd say I'd just take Ohio State. Easy answer for me. It's either Ohio State or Penn State to me.
Professional teams?
Professional teams, my team is the Colts, so we suck as well. But NFL playoffs this year, all of my professional teams are shit right now. Like it's a really bad time to be any type of fan.
I'm a Texans fan. I have to root on your downfall. I'm sorry, man.
I don't give a fuck. Our team sucks, man. I'm glad we get the GM out of there. We get the GM out. We get the defensive coordinator out. Let's get some new blood in there, man. I'm tired of Chris Ballard. That dude stinks. And then for NFL playoffs, I'm just gonna put my money on the Chiefs because they've got the benefit of the refs, and they win close games better than anybody anyway. They've been spending this entire year winning close games.
They got plot armor. Refs, Swifties, they got that plot armor.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're just way better, man. They're
this guy out here.
They've done a better job winning than anybody else, and they're gonna be basically like as healthy as they possibly can be for the playoffs now. They've been winning this entire year without 2 or 3 of their best skill position players. It's gonna be really hard to beat them, man.
Yeah. I agree, man. And like they just keep finding ways to win. It's not like they're just doing it in one fashion either.
They're just better than everybody. It's okay. It's okay for us to admit that is like a dynasty. They're just better than everybody. Both sides of the ball. Actually, all 3 phases of the game, they're just better than everybody. It's okay.
All right. I think we've burned a lot of time. I'm gonna answer one more get you to answer one more community question for us. I feel like this one's pretty applicable across all borders. We asked it for coaches earlier. But do you have any advice for players entering competitive Apex? Focus on your mechanics, focus on this aspect, that aspect. What would be your guidance to them?
Finding a way to combine like out-of-game tools with like the in-game resources that you have, and also like starting that community of people as well. I think community still goes a long way. And it pushes you guys to be better and forces you to be better because you're playing against people that are oftentimes better or equal skill to you. Scrimming as well. Like getting the fact that EEC gives you like the option to potentially get into like lobby 1s where it's like teams that are like the high end of CC with like low level pro league teams and shit. That's invaluable for players, man. Mm-hmm. It's so nice to be able to not have to because in CC you don't get to play against pro league teams really. There's only like a couple, right? And that's like once in a blue moon if you're making finals. Like the finals lobbies are a great resource, but you don't get that often, right? So scrims, getting to have that similar quality in scrims is great. It helps you grow substantially as a player because people that are better than you are going to force more mistakes, right? They're going to help you iron out things. So as long as you don't feel too bad about it and you're not looking and being critical of your gameplay still, there's no way you wouldn't improve. Everybody needs somebody to push them to be better. That's plain and simple in every area of life.
No, dude, shout out Sparky, bro. I think he's done a great job since they've went from Legacy League to joining EEC. I think he's been a huge factor in getting EEC to the environment they are now. So I'm sure he'll love to hear you talk highly about EEC. So appreciate that as well. That's the homie right there. Love that dude.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think that's all I've got for you. I kind of had to cut the community off. They're kind of getting goofy with some things. But rules, Knives, before we let this handsome man go, do you guys have any other last remarks, questions, concerns for this man?
I know we kind of talked on it a little bit, but since we're going off of tips or advice going into it, just to rehash on it for coaches, you got three coaches, three coaches, working on the come up. Okay. So, outside of community, outside of, how you managed in, before you leave, final advice for us, like final advice for just the dogs that want to make it up in there. Like,
keep showing up.
Keep showing up. There it is. All right.
Keep showing up.
I didn't know the
network.
lab has.
Keep showing up and network. That's it.
I like that.
It's
That's it. Doing a good job with that,
you guys are doing a great job, man. I'm being dead serious. Like people take note to stuff like this. People are going to see this. The right people might end up seeing this, and you might get an opportunity out of it. Or if nothing comes of it, at least you're getting something out of talking to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And please extend yourselves past what you're comfortable doing. Reach out to teams. Be like, yo, I'm still available as a coach for you for pro league, like, right? Because your goal is to end up coaching for teams in pro league,
right, and
shit like that. Make sure that you're reaching out to the proper teams, the proper networks. You don't even have to start in NA necessarily. If you got to get your start in EU, then do it. Whatever it takes, right? You got to do what it takes, and keep showing up and network. Those are my top two.
All right, well, I'm gonna follow that advice. If there's any teams that need analysts, so you got three great minds here. We're here. We're open. We ain't doing nothing else with CCs. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we're here. All right, man, dude. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man. I think by far,
thanks so much.
You, Cad Warrior, and Knives. I think that all the guests I've had have been absolutely extraordinary. But I think by far, getting to do this with Knives and Ruli and yourself has been my favorite episode of doing this. This is kind of always started this podcast was to give the spotlight to coaches, give the spotlight to people who we feel like are working hard, and to have somebody of your stature who has the origin story like you have. I mean, I didn't, get to do a full deep dive and like find out where your elementary school was, but as far as your professional career, man, like it's very humble to see how far you've came, and like you're on the top of the totem pole now. You're with the Dynasty, the TSM. You are the TSM Talmadge, so like having somebody like you who's done it all, who's came up from ground roots, grassroots, it's awesome, dude. It's absolutely awesome, and I'm honored to have you on here. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with you, brother.
Yes,
I appreciate all of you guys, man. Thank you for having me, and please just keep showing up and network. It'll pay off. Okay.
Knives, anything?
Ruli, you stole my question, so I'm dry now. I'm still in work mode after waking up. I literally just got off of work 2 hours before the podcast started. So I had 2 hours of sleep, and now I gotta shift into gear for tournament mode for tonight. So I'm cooked right now.
All right. Good luck to you guys, man. Good luck.
All right, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. TSM Talmadge, thank you so much for showing up. That's the episode 5 of the Coach Buff podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll all see you guys later. Peace.